You and Joe Biden don't have the same priorities. If you're like most Americans, you're worried about the price at the pump and the grocery store. Joe Biden doesn't go to the supermarket, so he doesn't see mothers putting ground beef back on the shelves because it's too expensive. Instead, he's in Scotland chasing windmills and talking about the weather. With every crisis, his administration shows us how little they care about you. Take Christmas, for example. Our supply chain is spiraling out of control. Americans are worried that they may not be able to find gifts for their kids. But don't bother Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo with your problems. She doesn't have time for that.
This isn't something that can be fixed overnight, but the important thing is, fundamentally, supply chains and logistics are run by the private sector. People say to me, will Christmas gifts be delivered? To which I say, call FedEx. That isn't what the government does.
Joining me now is Matt Walsh of The Matt Walsh Show. Matt, I was stunned. Call FedEx? I mean, could there be a more callous and uncaring administration?
Callous, uncaring, also just the bad faith aspect of it. I mean, these are the people, the Democrats, they say the government can fix every single problem, cure world hunger, bring in world peace, end racism, cure arthritis, like any problem they say that exists, they can solve. And then if something goes wrong, something practical in the real world actually goes wrong, a problem they caused, by the way. I mean, the COVID lockdowns have a big reason, are a big factor that played into this. When that goes wrong, then they throw up their hands and say, oh, what do you want us to do? We can't. This is a private sector concern. Now, only when things are wrong, when there's a real problem they can and should fix, that's the only time when they suddenly respect the private sector, and they're going to tell us that the government has no role in it. It's completely absurd. Yeah,
it's such a great point. And by the way, Pete Buttigieg says the supply chain crisis won't end until the pandemic ends. Well, he and his party want this pandemic to never end. I mean, for most Americans, we think it's over.
Yeah, and we talk about things they could do. Another thing they could do, if you have a transportation crisis and you're the transportation secretary, maybe don't go on a 2-month paid vacation. That's one thing you could do. But this goes back to, again, this is a practical problem, and it's something that's felt by parents, by working class people who want to provide for their kids. And those are not the kinds of issues that Democrats and the left care about. They care about things that, like, their millionaire friends and their friends at yoga class care about. Is there enough trans representation on Broadway or whatever? Those are the kinds of issues they care about, not, can you buy Christmas gifts for your kids? Will you have a job to go to tomorrow if you work at retail? Those kinds of problems.
Yeah, someone should probably tell Pete Buttigieg that the government touches our supply chain at many, many points, and there's lots of things that he could do to help improve this situation. And by the way, one last thing, you're right. He took more paternity leave than a lot of women who had C-sections did. So thank you so much for joining us, Matt.
Thank you.
You got it.